Battle Creek City Commission meeting. We have some technical difficulties that we're working through, but we're going to go ahead and get started and make our presentations of the beautiful Battle Creek Awards. But before we do that, we're going to have our invocation that will be a moment of silence, and then I'm going to call upon our Vice Mayor to lead us in the pledge. So if you're able to stand for a moment of silence, we'd appreciate it, and then we'll follow up the pledge by our Vice Mayor, Sherry Sophia. Vice Mayor?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. Before we do roll call, we do have two commissioners that will not be able to be with us tonight, Commissioner Lance and Commissioner Morris. So, Madam Clerk, when you're ready, can you do the roll call?
Commissioner Ballard,
Present.
Commissioner O'Donnell,
Here.
Mayor Binky,
Here.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Present.
Commissioner Simmons,
Here.
Commissioner Smith,
Present.
and Vice Mayor Sophia.
Here.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is the proclamations and awards. And one of my favorite things to do is the beautiful Battle Creek Awards. And we have some really good ones tonight. I'm going to ask our Assistant City Manager, Ted Deering, to make the announcements. I'll go down in front. And we hope to bring everyone out here in front of the dais. And then we'll make our presentation. I will also ask a few of you to talk a little bit about your home and how much work you have done recently so we can encourage other people to get involved. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. And so we do have several beautiful Battle Creek Awards this evening. Our first is from NPC 2. It's Ward 2, Larry and Patricia Martin at 97 Redner Avenue. Our next is from NPC 2 as well, Ward 2, Booker T. Barbie Jr. at 40 East Goodale Avenue. We have NPC 1 from Ward 3, Victor and Julieta Enriquez at 70 East Kingman Avenue. Don't know if they were able to join us this evening. NPC 3, Ward 2, Susan Hale at 91 Frisbee Avenue. Okay, great. NPC 2, Ward 2, Neighborhoods Incorporated at 47 North Washington Avenue.
I'll accept that.
NPC 3, Ward 4, Brightness of Glory, Kalamazoo, Michigan, Inc. at 94 West Bidwell. And then finally from NPC 5, Ward 1, Terry and Brenda Lancaster at 284 Morgan Avenue.
Thank you for being here. Just stay up here. We're going to ask you to say a few things. I'd like to first call upon the Martins to talk about your home and talk about some of the work that you've recently completed in order to really get you this award. So,
Yeah.
Good evening. We do a lot of work to our home, but actually we do a lot of work to our neighborhood too. So not just our home do we take care of, we take care of the neighborhood. We pick up the trash every other day, which we have a lot of trash. My husband paints sculptures at our house. We plant plants all over. Every holiday we decorate for Halloween, Valentine's Day, Christmas. So it's not just our house, but I just noticed Booker's right on Goodale. So Goodale's right around from Redner. Goodale needs some help too. So come on, help me out picking up that trash, honey. Come on, please. And thank you, Mayor.
well, now we're going to ask for Mr. Martin.
I spoke for both of us, okay?
Well, I'd like to introduce Booker, Barbie. Booker invited me into the back side of his house, and I tell you what, I don't think I left for 2 hours. And I'm going to let Booker tell you a little bit about what he does here. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I'm very pleased to accept this award. I've been trying to, all night long, try to find out what to say, so I know exactly what to do now. What I want to say is that I have in the back of my home now, it's called Booker Barbie's Black Pictorial Museum. And it has the picture of the fire department, it has the pictures of the police department, the whole community hospital, everything that's been done. I'm 81 years old, and I've been taking pictures since all these many times. And on top of that, I give a big picnic every year for the community. It's all free, and everybody there. We have a wonderful time, live music, all food that you can eat and everything. And I just want to say again, it's like just thank you very much for this. And we also have in there, you can see that in memory of the ones that the people have passed and the ones that are still alive. And like I said, I'm 81 years old now, and I'm about to give out now, so I've been doing this since 1960, and I want to appreciate you all. Thank you very much. And Calvin.
As Commissioner Ballard, I'm happy to accept the award for Neighborhoods Incorporated, which recently I was just appointed to their board, and they have about 42 homes, and they just had their annual report night the other night, and they had a beautiful rendition or redo of one of the houses that they did and removed all the shrubbery that was on the corner, and now it looks like a park. So very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. And then finally, I want to introduce the Lancasters. Is that correct? Who's going to speak?
My wife does all the talking. So, the NPC that I'm with is with Kathy Anataya, and there's some Roger and all of them. Right now I'm going through a rough time with some, but anyway, I'll be back trying to work some more. Go ahead.
He wants to. I am sorry. That's my husband, though.
Yeah.
He likes to talk. I don't. Anyway, thank you for the award. This summer, we started it about 8 years ago. I did. I was on disability. Gas company comes through and tore up about a third of our yard. No grass would grow. So we put in a huge rock garden out front. It goes the whole length of the house. Put 2 more up in front. And this year, I went out with my son, bought a couple more plants on Saturday. Sunday, he got the holes dug for him. I couldn't get them in the ground fast enough. I fell back and broke my wrist in 2 places. Had surgery, and that was the end of my summer. So it's up to him and God for bringing us some rain this year. Everything survived, so thank you.
Well, one of the reasons why we do this, it encourages other people when they see you out there in those Saturday mornings working, digging the holes for the rocks. And by doing this, we're beautifying Battle Creek one house at a time. So we thank you for your contributions to our community. We look forward to our next beautiful Battle Creek Award ceremony. Thank you. Thank you.
See you, Larry.
Much. Thank you. Once again, thank you, everyone. Next item on our agenda is a staff presentation. I'd like to call upon the fire department, our fire chief, and his staff. Are there any other people helping you out tonight, Chief?
No, sir, they're all here for moral support, I think.
Okay.
I hope.
Oh, bear with me one moment. You're all set, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to stand before you tonight and talk about the fire department a little bit. There we go. When I was a little guy, the little town that I grew up in had two of these big whistles in town. They're about the size of refrigerators. It's hard to tell from those. And they went off at noon and 9 p.m. And at 9 p.m., that was the curfew. And if you weren't home by the time that thing started, you better pedal really fast and get your bicycle home before the whistle stopped, because there was always nowhere else. But that was also the fire whistle. That was how the fire department was alerted to calls. 3 short blasts from those sirens, and the firefighters were summoned to the firehouse, and you'd see all the people in the community running out to the street, and they would look to see what was going on or if there was a big plume of smoke in the sky. Some of us little ones, we always went out to look at the big shiny red trucks. I was pretty much hooked from an early age on being a firefighter, and here we are today. But 50 years later, the fire service has come a long way from whistles and old farm trucks that have been turned into fire trucks. A little help, please. The clicker's not clicking. Does this count against worse, Phil? Does this count against my 10 minutes?
Yes.
Can I just give you a nod or a wave or something, please? So today our calls are much more dynamic than they used to be. Our equipment is much more complex than it used to be, and our calls are much more dangerous than they used to be. In our world, you hear us talk about fire behavior in terms of legacy furnishings and modern furnishings. Legacy furnishings are pretty much everything from about 50 years ago and beyond. And I imagine some of you can recognize the furniture in those pictures on the left. That's some, I know my great-grandparents had the couch with the golden colored stripes on them. Another term that we talk about is flashover. Flashover is basically the point where everything in the room reaches that certain temperature and the conditions are right, and everything goes into combustion and lights off fire at the same time. Temperatures raise very rapidly and very high. People do not survive flashovers. Flashovers are very dangerous for firefighters as well, even with all the equipment that we have. But, nope,
Same slide?
still on that one, still on that one. So as you see in the picture on the right, legacy room fires, it took every bit of 30 minutes for them to flash over. And there are still houses in existence today that have those legacy furnishings in them. But with the modern furnishings, fires or rooms flash over in about 3.5 minutes. That's a very significant difference in how fast fire changes in those 50 years. Fires burn 8 times faster than they used to. They produce 200 times more toxins and smoke than they used to. It used to be estimated that people had about 8 minutes to get out of their house. Today, with modern fires, it's about 2 before they can safely get out of their homes. The fires generally double in size about every 60 seconds. And this information is why you hear us talk nonstop about response times and having the proper equipment and training and facilities and staffing. It's information like this. I'll try not to get too crazy with numbers, but there are some numbers that I would like to share. The pie chart up on the left shows the breakdown of the 9 major areas that the fire service reports on annually to the federal government. And you'll see that biggest spot down in the bottom is emergency medical calls. Right now, and this was created on November 30th, 69% of our calls. Over the last 5 or 6 years, you'll see that our calls consistently have been between 69 and 72% medical related, but we still have those other calls to go on. It would be very easy for the public to say, for us to talk about shifting our focus to medical and away from the others, but we can't do that. Our job is still dangerous. We must have the proper facilities and equipment, be properly trained, properly positioned around town in order to deal with those low frequency, high risk calls outside of that 69%, the things that we don't do very often. A big number to share here is the call volume, the bar graph, far right-hand column. You'll see that we were, whatever number that is, I can't read that far. These numbers, again, were done on November 30th. On December 4th, we passed last year's call total. We are going to go over 9,000 calls this year. That's the most ever that the Battle Creek Fire Department has responded to. We have one vacancy right now, so we're at 99% staffed. That's a great thing for us. Not only does it help operationally and financial efficiency for us, but it also, by being fully staffed, it helps address the mental well-being of our firefighters. Having more staff to be able to work and go on calls is better for our folks. And then a GWIS number for you, that 42. 42% of our fire department's members have less than 10 years of seniority here in Battle Creek. We are a pretty darn young fire department for what we do. Some of the significant things that happened for us this year in 2023, Station 4 reopened. Many of you were there at the open house after 15 months of a remodel for repairs. A new fire engine 3 was delivered and placed into service earlier this year. We completed entry-level testing. About 2 months ago, we finished the process up. We tried some new approaches to recruiting. We tried some new approaches to helping the candidates get through the process successfully, and we have more work to do in that area. The list is going to be certified by Civil Service next week, and it's the smallest known list of candidates that the city's ever had. 15 candidates is all that's going to be on this list. So we have much work to do in that area. ARPA money was used this past year in projects that started the year before. We got new generators at several of our stations. Those allow us to have continuity of operations and keep things going through bad weather when power goes out. A lot of HVAC, electrical, and plumbing projects have been taken over the past year or so. Our newest, youngest building is 50 years old already. So we have a lot of work to do there, and the ARPA funds have been able to do that. And cancer is by far the leading cause of firefighter deaths in the United States. Through ARPA funds, we were able to purchase special laundry equipment that is designed to remove those carcinogens out of our firefighters' gear and allow us to get them, instead of just having one for the department, we have them in 5 of the 6 stations. So that's been a great thing for us. Also this year, we received 2 FEMA grants that you folks had to vote on earlier this year. One of them was a grant for just under $700,000 for EMT training. And the other one was a grant for just under $90,000 for a special smoke alarm program outside of what we already do. And this program will also allow us to reach the deaf and hard of hearing community with the smoke alarm program. And finally, you can see fire inspector up there. We added a fire inspector back to the fire department after about a 12 to 15 year hiatus of just having one person in that office. This allows us to increase our capabilities in community risk reduction efforts, so we're very grateful to have added that back in. So speaking of the fire marshal and the fire marshal's office, just a moment ago I mentioned about the grant and the reintroduction of the fire inspector. Community risk reduction, or also known as fire prevention, is a very large part of our mission. I think most firefighters will tell you, and I'm certain that Fire Marshal Jones and Inspector Cleveland would back that up, that the best way to prevent injuries, property loss, and damage from fires is to stop them from starting in the first place. Inspections, fire codes, public education, smoke alarm programs, and incident pre-plans are significant in our world in reducing the impact of fires. There are 2,000 commercial structures in the city of Battle Creek that must be inspected on a regular basis. This year, with having the fire inspector added back in, 241 building inspections were completed. Fire Safety Division also conducts required inspections for liquor licenses and the marijuana facility. 45 and 19 of those respectively. That's outside of the regular building inspections that our folks must do. Certain special events that have food prepared on site, like the Juneteenth celebration, those type of events, they have to be inspected as part of their permit process as well. And a third of all special events that were conducted in 2023 had to be inspected by our Fire Safety Division before they could occur. And on top of that, if that's not enough, any fire incident that the officers on scene cannot readily identify the cause or origin, or they are suspicious in nature, the folks in our Fire Safety Division are charged with investigating those fires. They work with the police department, other law enforcement agencies on trying to make those determinations. There were 18 such incidents so far. Actually, I think after today, it's up to 19. So far in 2023. For many, many, many years, as I said a few minutes ago, probably 12 to 15 years, all of these things that I've talked about here in the last few minutes fell on one person's shoulders. And he was able to, over the years, do the best he could, work really hard and get stuff addressed the best we could. And I'm sure that he is very happy that we've increased that capacity by adding the fire inspector back into the division. This slide here shows the breakdown of our staff across our 3 divisions and also the personnel that are assigned to the stations in our operations across our 3 shifts. I haven't gone into too much detail. I've talked about some statistics and some efforts that we've done this year. And earlier I showed you that pie chart with the breakdown of our calls. And even though those are small percentages, I think it's important to know that your fire department also provides technical rescue such as confined space and high-angle rope rescue. We provide hazardous materials response in the region, tied with the state of Michigan, and we also provide airport firefighting services to the community. If somebody calls 911 and the issue isn't readily identified as a police or a law enforcement issue, we're the ones that are getting sent to go figure out what needs to be done, who needs to be called, what needs to be handled, and so on. We are definitely an all-hazards fire department. Thank you for your time and allowing me to speak a little bit about the department this evening.
Do we have any questions of the chief? Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. No questions. So I am one of those statistics. We had occasion to call the fire department to our house, and not for a medical emergency, but we had a little fire. And I just wanted to thank, it was small. It was small. It was mostly out by the time you got there, but not quite. I just wanted to say thank you to you, everyone that we interacted with, from the guys at the station to the battalion chief. I mean, everybody was just wonderful to deal with, very comforting. I mean, it's pretty traumatic when your husband yells at you to call 911 because he just set the house on fire. It's a little nerving, and your staff was just phenomenal to deal with. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. It's our pleasure, and we're proud to be able to be here to do it.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Thank you, Mayor. Chief, I just want to thank you for your community outreach to everyone out here. I mean, what child doesn't want to see a giant fire truck and visit and touch it and see what you all do? And that's probably how you got started in the business, is stepping up and showing what great leadership we have in our fire department to our community. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ballard?
Thank you, Mayor. On behalf of Fire Building Number 4, the residents in that area want to give you a big thank you for getting that back up and running. 2 other things is my brother was about 20 years older than me, and he was a fireman when I was in like kindergarten. So he came to the school and brought the red fire hats, and I was real proud. And lastly, on the fire hydrants, is that maintained by your department, or is that DPW that takes care of them? I see a lot of them that appear to be rusty. Maybe they're not rusted, but they look like the paint is coming off of them.
Fire hydrants and the water distribution system all fall under DPW.
DPW.
And the water department.
Okay, I'll take it up with them. Thanks.
And one thing that you just reminded me of that I skipped on my slide, ISO was here this year, back in May, the Insurance Services Organization, for the first time in 7 years. COVID had to deal with that. A change in chiefs last year had to do with that extension. Usually they come every 5 years. There were improvements in the water system, the water distribution system, and the 911 system, things that the fire department itself has nothing to do with, but they're part of the community score. Our overall score did drop a little bit, but we are still a solid Class 3 department in the same range that we were before they came to visit in May. So I wanted to point that out as well.
Thank you again.
Any other commission comments? Chief, I'm looking for a stocking stuffer. I want an ambulance in our fire department. So I just want to leave that comment with you. When we have 70% of our calls medical emergencies, I think we need to fulfill our responsibility. So thank you very much.
Roger that, sir. Thank you.
Thanks. Next item on our agenda is chair noting any added or deleted resolutions.
There were none.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item on our agenda is petitions, communications, and reports.
There were none.
Next item on our agenda is a public hearing. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
This public hearing is for the purpose of receiving public comment on the proposed Dickman Road Business Improvement District Special Assessment Roll number I-024.
Declare the public hearing open. Are there any comments for the public hearing? Any public comments for the public hearing? Any commission comments? Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed. Next item on our agenda is the adoption of ordinance 306, 20-2023. Madam Clerk.
While researching background information related to transit matters, it became evident that Chapter 244 of our ordinances needed updating. It refers to 2 city departments as divisions and the individuals in charge of those departments as managers. This has not been the organization or the leadership structure of the transportation in the city for a number of years. The airport is now referred to as the aviation department with its own director, and transit is now referred to as the public transit department with its own director. These amendments will properly reflect the current structure and organization of these city departments. This resolution seeks to adopt Ordinance 20-2023, amending Chapter 244, Department of Transportation, by making changes to reflect the current organization and titles of the aviation and public transit departments in the city.
I would like to move for the adoption of ordinance 2023. If I said that.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to adopt ordinance 20-2023. Are there any public comments at this time? Are there any public comments? Seeing none, any commission comments? Seeing none, would you please vote on the adoption of ordinance 20-23? Ordinance 20-23 has been approved. Next item on our agenda is public comment regarding consent agenda and resolutions not on the consent agenda. If you'd like to make public comment regarding the consent agenda and resolutions not on the consent agenda, please raise your hand and we will acknowledge you to come forward to the podium. You'll have 3 minutes to make your comments. Please state your name and address before beginning your comment and indicate which resolution you're speaking to. Are there any public? Yes, Mary, please.
Mary Bourgeois, 231 Springview Drive, Battle Creek. I'm curious about Resolution 320. I understand that there is a shortage of CDL drivers. Therefore, I'm wondering why transit is seeking heavy-duty buses as opposed to the BC Go vans. Thank you.
Mallory, do you want to respond to that now or do you want to respond to that later?
Now,
I'll leave it up to Ted.
yeah, we Perhaps the appropriate time might be when we get to the resolution on the
Okay.
agenda.
Very good. We'll respond to that, Mary. And Kathy, you're next.
So Kathy Antea, Park Ridge Drive, Battle Creek, thank you for recognizing me. I too am curious about Resolution 320, again, because of all the discussions we've been having in regards to transit. It makes me scratch my head about 10 heavy-duty buses. I do recognize the city is really good about maintaining a renewal schedule of purchasing new operating equipment. So I think that's great that we need to keep our machines up to date. And really, I mean, we've just been saying how we can't fill these buses. So why are we buying 10 big-butted buses? Sorry, I was going to. So I'm suggesting that if we can get away with smaller buses and they don't require CDL licenses necessarily, and I'm not sure about that, so you might have to correct me. It just seems to make a lot of sense to me that we might consider something smaller. And I also know Mallory is going to have all kinds of good information to give us. I'm hoping that the commission has a robust discussion about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Any other public comment at this time? David? David Moore.
There's people who ride the bus. We don't know each route. We don't know the people, how many people going to be riding that. Sometimes we have only a few people. Sometimes we have 20 or 30. Or it's hard to predict that how many people will ride on a route. And that's been quite hard to predict that. We had a problem. That's one of the problems we have. But you just can't predict how many people are going to ride the bus during the hour the buses goes out, you know. And that's just something that's hard to predict.
Thank you, David. Any other public comment at this time? Seeing no more public comment, next item on our agenda is commission comment regarding meeting business.
I would like to move for the adoption of the consent agenda.
Support.
Been moved and supported to adopt the consent agenda. Is there any questions by the commission? Seeing none, would you please vote on the consent agenda? The consent agenda has been approved. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 316. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
Every 5 years, following the guidelines for the development of community park, recreation, open space, and greenway plans established by the state of Michigan, the Parks and Recreation Department updates its master plan. The plan serves as a strategic guide for Parks and Recreation staff and the basis for determining what programs and services to offer and how they should be prioritized. The plan is required by the state of Michigan to ensure the department's eligibility for certain state and federal grant funds. This resolution seeks approval and adoption of the 2024 through 2028 City of Battle Creek Parks and Recreation Master Plan.
I would like to move for the adoption of Resolution 316.
Support.
So moved and supported to approve Resolution 316. Are any comments by the commission? Seeing none, please vote on Resolution 316. Resolution 316 has been approved. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 317, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 1060.05A authorizes the city manager to make rules and regulations subject to the approval by the city commission pertaining to conduct and in the use of parks and public grounds as necessary to administer the same and protect public property and the safety, health, morals, and welfare of the public. This resolution seeks authority for the city manager to establish rules and regulations under which persons may use full-blast recreational center facility.
I would like to move for approval of Resolution 317.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve Resolution 317. Are there any comments by the commission? Seeing none, would you please vote on Resolution 317? Resolution 317 has been approved. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 318.
In the spring of 2019, city staff, with the support of 7 community members and a representative from the Bicycle Advisory Committee, formed the Non-Motorized Transportation Plan Advisory Committee. This committee, with the assistance of a planning consultant, kicked off the planning effort to update the 2006 Non-Motorized Transportation Plan. It involved an extensive public participation process that included, but was not limited to, public workshops, mapping exercises, social media outreach, and a community-wide survey to gather input on which streets, paths, rivers, etc., are used by the community and where the issues with those exist. This resolution seeks approval of the 2023 Non-Motorized Transportation Plan.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 318.
Support.
Been moved and supported to approve Resolution 318. Are there any comments by the commission? Seeing none, would you please vote on Resolution 318? Resolution 318 has been approved. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 319.
Redwood Battle Creek Glen Cross Roads Apartments, located off Glen Cross Road, have a newly constructed private water main and sanitary sewer. The complex has over 1/2 of a mile of private water main built as a loop system to avoid dead ends. Water main dead ends are a concern for water quality. Loop systems with more than one connection to the public water system are preferred because they provide better water quality, higher flow, and increased pressure. For a development to have a loop system, the state of Michigan requires the water main through the development to be a public water main. For the water main to be public, the water main must be within a dedicated easement to the city or a transfer of ownership as a right-of-way. This resolution seeks authorization for the city manager to enter into an acceptance and dedication of public water main and public sanitary sewer by Redwood Battle Creek Glen Cross Road, Michigan, P1 LLC, and Redwood Battle Creek Glen Cross Road, Michigan, P2 LLC, upon real property located at 5448 and 5420 Glen Cross Road.
I would like to move for the adoption of Resolution 319.
Support.
Been moved and supported to approve Resolution 319. Any comments, questions, or clarifications by the commission? Well, if you're old-fashioned like me and you like going on Sunday afternoon rides, you need to go through Redwood Neighborhood Development, one of the fastest-growing subdivisions in Battle Creek. And what really attracts the people to this neighborhood is that you have a car garage that you can drive your car into. Believe it or not, that's the biggest selling point. Shut the door and you're home. So it's full. I think they've rented out almost all the condos or the apartments there. And if you really want to check it out, it's one of Battle Creek's fastest growing neighborhoods. Would you please vote on Resolution 319? Resolution 319 has been approved. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 320.
City of Battle Creek Transit has received a grant to purchase 10 heavy-duty buses over the next 3 years. The initial purchase in 2023-2024 will be 4 buses, 3 35-foot and 1 40-foot, for a total estimated cost of $2,842,076. The orders for the remaining 6 buses will be split in 2 stages, first in 2025 and finally in 2026. This resolution seeks authorization regarding the purchase of up to 10 heavy-duty transit buses from Gilling LLC using the State of Washington Enterprise Services Cooperative Purchasing Agreement.
I would like to move for the adoption of Resolution 320.
Support.
Been moved and supported to approve Resolution 320. Mallory, could you please come forward and give us the federal government justification of this purchase?
Yes. Good evening. So to answer the questions that are happening about why are we continuing to purchase fixed route buses when we're struggling to find CDL drivers, and that is because we know that we have routes within Battle Creek that are always going to be most efficiently served by fixed route. Our VA Fort Custer, Southwest Capitol, Columbia, and then even with the possibility of being Northeast Capitol. So we know that ridership and data supports those routes remaining fixed route, frequency to be determined, but for capacity and efficiency. Our fleet is, more than 70% of our fleet is past its useful life. 11 of our 14 buses are well beyond their useful life and are actually second-hand buses from other agencies. These 4 buses will replace those, and then it is not us ordering 10 buses all at once. It is ordering 4, and then that process takes anywhere from 12 to 14 months for us to actually take delivery of those buses and before we order our next round. So it does give us a little bit of time to stop and reevaluate before we make our next order of do we still need 13 fixed route buses in the city of Battle Creek, or do we ask at the FTA, the Federal Transit Administration, for permission to change our grant and see if they would allow us to change that from 10 buses to a combination of buses and vans. It should be noted that that grant did provide funding for 14 vehicles total. So that grant was just over $6 million, and it was for 4 lighter duty vehicles and 10 heavy duty vehicles. We've purchased 3 of those light duty vehicles. We intend to order 1 light duty vehicle off of the State of Washington contract also, and then this is starting the process of those 10 heavy duty vehicles.
If you want to stick around the microphone, I'm sure there'll be other questions. Any other commission questions? Commissioner Patrick O'Donnell.
Yes, thank you, Mallory. I think it weighs on all the commissioners here. We've heard a lot over the last few months over transportation, and 2 citizens have brought up almost the same idea that I've been thinking of for about a month. If we could have smaller vehicles that transport lighter loads, we could have chauffeurs' licenses instead of CDLs. I've seen other cities. I've been watching a lot of news programs on transportation, to be honest with you. I'm trying to catch up and be helpful. Some cities have what they call connectors, which are, you got one giant bus, which we apparently we need to order under the grant money that we have. So this isn't really anything we have to order these size vehicles, which we do need for certain routes. But connectors that are right behind the bus, picking up smaller loads of 4 to 8 people, a 12-person van. Right behind them, like I'd have to say, like first you got the big bus, and you got little buses on the same route, just picking them up to accommodate most likely for evening or lighter loads to help people. That seems to be one of the problems. I mean, this is just a thought that I've been looking at, or the weekend load to have the littler vehicles do some of that routing. So we're not really stuck into buying all 10 vans, is what you're explaining.
Yes.
And this is something we can all just look into and provide different ways, because like I was saying before, we're living in the 21st century. It's a little bit different now than being in the 1950s and 60s, where we had to have big transportation. Not everybody owned an automobile. Everything's changed, and you got neighbors helping neighbors, that type of stuff. So thank you for explaining that. This is a much deal purchase, I understand. Just looking at other different ways of helping support the community. So thank you.
Jake?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I think the investment is great under normal circumstances, of course. As the audience pointed out, and I believe the city does have a really good capital improvement program and is cycling these things out. Could always do better. But that aside, my main concern lies with the deference we pay to the TAC, the Transportation Authority of Calhoun County. Presumably, well, let me take a step back. We've opted in, as well as the other cities. The board has been seated, you know, the TAC exists. And my concern is, again, the deference we pay to them in regard to in purchasing these assets, which are also liabilities to an extent, as you know, and before they even get the chance to get settled down and create a plan, and before you know, we've already purchased 4 full-size buses for them. So that's where I'm at. I'm not opposed to the investment in the least. I would just like to see some more coordination with the TAC and some certainty behind what their plan is, you know, before we go and, you know, make the first purchase on their behalf. As far as I can tell, that's my understanding of the situation. So thank you. Once again, outstanding work, but I would like to have the TAC in the back of our heads here for this as well. So thank you.
Mayor.
Commissioner Ballard.
Thank you. Mallory, maybe you can expand on some of the questions that had come up. I assume that the large buses may be needed for morning and night in certain areas, and then maybe you could expand also on the route. How many times a day does a route get covered, and can they be covered by the backup buses that Commissioner O'Donnell mentioned as a substitute to the big bus driving, say, 8 times a day? Maybe it can only drive 2 times a day. Is that something that's feasible? And thank you for all the work that you've done. That's a tremendous job. Thank you.
Thank you. So yes, we have 8 fixed routes. Some of them are once an hour, and with the exception of VA, the VA Fort Custer, that route has what we call the VA Express in the morning, and so essentially that one runs every half hour to serve those peak loads, right? We're talking a full bus at full capacity of people trying to get out to work in the fort. Those 8 routes, some of them are hourly buses from 5 a.m. until 7 p.m. when we're at normal service levels, and then the other ones are every half hour from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. What we've done right now in response to the CDL driver shortage is combine some of those routes. So instead of a bus running every half hour and requiring 2 buses, we are running 1 bus, 1 half hour it does this route, the next half hour it does a different route. So we're able to cover 2 routes with 1 bus. As you hear, there is some struggle within the community on that way of providing service, right? So we hear that people want their frequency back. They're not happy with it that way. But on the other hand, if we're able to maybe supplement that with some what's called microtransit, that's what we're aiming to do. So we're trying to balance the way we deliver fixed route service with the way we can introduce microtransit service. Unfortunately, none of that can happen tomorrow. So these buses, like I said, take 12 to 14 months from if this resolution is approved and I can issue a purchase order to Gillig tomorrow, those buses still aren't going to be built until November of next year. And then, we have several weeks before it actually gets delivered here from California. Same thing with those bigger vans and small buses. They're called cutaways. So those cutaways are still about 18 months out from build. So a decision about service delivery that we make today can't be turnkey tomorrow. And unfortunately, we're behind the ball on the way that everything has evolved with the CDL shortage. And so we're trying to play that middle with our microtransit service. We've reached out to other agencies as they're disposing of assets and asking if we can purchase those so that we can maybe bridge that gap a little bit better. As of last week, we had 7 vehicles on the road at one time for our non-CDL service, and that's a combination of BC Go and Teletransit to bridge that gap and to provide what we call feeder service. So bring people into the transfer center downtown so that then they can get out to the fixed route buses.
Thank you.
Thank you. I was going to say, yeah, that's what I'm just getting out there. I know it's not can't happen tomorrow, but it's like something we just need to look forward to because of the CDL shortage. And it's not just the restrictions on getting a CDL are just hard to get. And then we get them and we train them, and God bless them, they find another great job somewhere driving a semi truck or something. We can't, But if we can find a pathway, and they give it a cute little name in some town, they call it the connector and that type of thing. And I've watched shows on it where you got your bus doing the express, but you got the little guy right behind him, and it could be hopefully, you know, somebody that just wants to pick up a few dollars, get a chauffeur's license and help the community out by making, especially with the TAC coming, we're going to have, it's hard to explain because of what we're going to look at for the TAC. How are we going to get people from Battle Creek to Albion? And we're going to need connectors, the cute little cars. So, but thank you. That's just, I just wanted to make sure that we all understand. I think we're looking at solving this transportation problem with a human resource problem.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, Commissioner Reynolds, Commissioner Simmons, Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. Mallory, I understand, you know, the replacement of the buses, but what are we doing to attract employees? I mean, if we get these buses, we still need the employees. What are we doing?
So we actually just met with ATU last week. We're working on a retention incentive, and a lot of our problem, honestly, is absenteeism and retention. And so we have a negotiated wage already. Our contract was negotiated last year in November, and we have a very competitive wage scale. So in comparison to Kalamazoo, Lansing, Jackson, our competitors directly around us, we are right in line with what those other cities are paying, and it's just a matter of retaining them once we've trained them. So we are working through that. It has not been effective at other transit agencies offering a sign-on bonus. So a recruitment bonus or a sign-on bonus has not been effective. What we have been using as a recruitment incentive is that we will train you to get your CDL, which is, you know, anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 in truck driving school tuition that the individual is being saved. They'll come out of it with a CDL. Ideally, we're working through what an employment agreement might look like to retain that employee after we train them for their CDL.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Simmons.
Mallory, thank you. And some of the comments from my fellow commissioners here made me think, Ms. Commissioner Smith talking about the TAC, still not knowing how that's all going to shake out. We're talking about our fixed routes, and there is still some question about how those are going to look after the TAC is fully implemented. So talk about that flexibility there. If like, oh, we can't run all the way out Capitol Avenue Northeast and to Penfield, or all the way into Emmett Township to Firekeepers, or if we have to enter into contracts with private businesses to operate, to go out there, how that all fits together as far as our flexibility of, yeah, we might need to cancel these buses or go with something smaller. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I don't think the idea, if we're talking about traveling much further outside of the city limits than we currently do on our fixed routes, the intention and the pro forma budgets that were put together previously for the TAC did not add fixed route service outside of the city of Battle Creek. So we did not expand fixed route service in those budget scenarios and those service scenarios. We extended our hours of service within the city of Battle Creek, but we didn't extend the service area for fixed route service. Now, we know that the TAC boundary will shrink in the city a little bit compared to what we serve currently in Penfield. But that could still potentially be served most efficiently with fixed route. Those 4 buses that we're ordering would replace 4 buses that I believe will still continue to be in service. I would still encourage the TAC to evaluate at least those 4 fixed routes, because they are most efficiently served, just the volume of people that we carry on them, by fixed route versus minivans or smaller vehicles.
So, but I guess my question is, okay, if you have to pull back the boundaries not in Penfield, I know a lot of folks that use that Capitol Avenue Northeast route are to go to the grocery store out there, and if you eliminate that as an option, you might see the amount of riders drastically reduced, and you have to be flexible there. That's what I'm saying. If we taken that into consideration.
Yes, and that is why we are not ordering all of the buses at once. These 4 will address our immediate need. The future ones, we have time to see, number one, if the TAC is able to secure a sustainable funding source. If they're not, we don't want to be waiting until August of next year to be ordering these buses, and then now we're 2 years behind from where we are today on replacing our capital. In the event we decide that we have an overabundance of fixed route vehicles, they are the Federal Transit Administration's property. They are not the city's property. They are federal assets until they are fully depreciated after 12 years or 500,000 miles. And even then, sometimes they remain a federal or state asset. And so, for example, if we sold a bus and we got $5,000 for selling that bus, we have to return that $5,000 to the federal government. We don't get to retain that. So at any time, FTA could direct us how to use, transfer, equip our buses. And in the event we weren't utilizing those buses, they would likely take them back. So for example, a utilization on a single vehicle is about 10,000 miles a year. So if we're not putting at least 10,000 miles a year on a vehicle, they're considering it underutilized, and they could take it back at any time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Smith.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, and to that, I think that's a great encapsulation of, the assets from the federal government and, the retention of them. I would just say that, we're having a really robust discussion about transportation in this city, that over the long term, 8, 10, 12, 14 months. And I don't know that anybody here is going to be in a position to be making any of those choices, considering, the tax already been ceded. So I really don't want to hamstring them with some assumed asset before they've even had a chance to create a plan or some idea about their routes or whatnot. And I completely understand where you're coming from about planning for the future in the event that the TAC doesn't succeed, or the millage rather, which is why I think we should just emphasize more coordination. But it's for that reason that I'm going to vote no on this. Yeah, I feel like the TAC really needs to be involved in this at this point, so thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you. So Mallory, can you talk a little bit, so the resolution that we have before us is to approve up to 10 heavy-duty buses. So you had also, though, referenced, so your plan is to purchase 4, and the remaining buses or the remaining monies can be used as we go forward, as we coordinate with the TAC, as we determine what our transit system looks like. I mean, talk a little bit about that, if you would, please.
Yes. So this initial 4, our grant is for a total of 14 vehicles, 10 heavy-duty buses and 4 light-duty vehicles. This resolution is for us to order up to 10, with our schedule currently being, we're going to order 4 right now. Fiscal year 25, I believe it is, order an additional 3 or 4, and then in fiscal year 26, order an additional 3 or 4, up to the 10 buses, depending on inflation. Right now, so when we spend this 2.8 million, the other money is sitting there waiting for us to spend it, but currently it is obligated towards heavy-duty buses. So we would have to petition FTA to allow us to change in the Federal Register what that line item is, because it's currently budgeted for 10 heavy-duty buses. Likely, this money is from fiscal year 2020, so likely they're going to say, yeah, go ahead, do a budget adjustment. We're going to get the same number of vehicles. They're still going to say 10 vehicles for 10 vehicles regardless of what type it is. Does that make sense?
So if we decided we're getting these 4 heavy-duty buses, and then we decide that the rest of the vehicles are going to be the small buses or more like a BC Go van, it still is a maximum of 10 vehicles, but there is the opportunity to pivot should we determine that the big buses are no longer going to fit our needs. Is that accurate?
Correct. Yep, we could ask Federal Transit Administration to allow us to do that. Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. My experience is that they have approved that in the past.
Okay. Thank you.
And then also, if we can convey to Tom Morris that the sound is not working right on AccessVision. Are there any other comments from the commission? Seeing none, would you please vote on the approval of Resolution 320?
We timed out. Lisa, there we go.
Commissioner Ballard,
Yes.
Resolution 320 has been approved. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 321. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
The Battle Creek Police Department has utilized body-worn cameras and in-car cameras in the interview rooms since October of 2020. Within the last year, the department has been experiencing ongoing issues with the quality of the product being utilized to house the software application. The current model consists of using refurbished cell phones to capture the video and upload it to the cloud. The refurbished phone batteries continually fail to hold a charge, overheat, expand, and eventually fail altogether, requiring a replacement. Replacements are becoming increasingly more delayed in shipment. This resolution seeks authorization of a 5-year contract for mobile video equipment and software services for the City of Battle Creek Police Department with Motorola Services, Inc., and an estimated 5-year amount of $1,312,948.53 with unit prices prevailing.
I would like to move for the adoption of Resolution 321.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve Resolution 321. Are there any comments, questions, or clarifications needed by the Commission? Seeing none, would you please vote on Resolution 321?
Not sure what's going on.
Commissioner Ballard,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sophia,
Yes.
thank you.
Resolution 321 has been approved. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 322. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
Lakewood Drive was part of the former Battle Creek Township, which was annexed by the city in 1983 and is now part of the City of Battle Creek. The City Public Works Department had not been made aware that the owners of the property on each side of Lakewood Drive had petitioned the County Road Commission in 1965 to abandon and discontinue it as a public road. That request was approved April 29, 1965. One of the private property owners called the matter to the attention of city staff, and our research confirmed that the road is private. The city sent notification to the property owners that because Lakewood Drive is private, the city would no longer provide any maintenance or repairs which had been done in error in prior years. Property owners of 5 of the parcels along Lakewood Drive filed a lawsuit against the city in May of this year. Calhoun County Circuit Court case attempting to force the city to treat the private property as public and continue maintenance and repairs. The city filed a motion to dismiss the lawsuit in its entirety, and the Circuit Court judge issued an opinion December 14, 2023, finding that the city was accurate in its assessment of the matter and had no obligation to take care of the road and treat it as public, and granted the motion to dismiss all counts. This resolution seeks decertification of Lakewood Drive from the city's Act 51 street inventory.
I would like to move for the adoption of Resolution 322.
Support.
Been moved and supported to approve Resolution 322. Are there any questions, comments, or clarifications needed by the Commission? Seeing none, would you please vote on 322?
Thank you, Patrick.
Resolution 322 has been approved. Next item on our agenda is general public comment. If you'd like to make general public comment regarding matters over which the City Commission has control, please raise your hand and wait for us to acknowledge you, and then come forward to the podium. You'll have 3 minutes to make your comment. Please state your name and address prior to your comment. Mary? And then we'll go to David Moore.
Mary Bourgeois, 231 Springview Drive. I'd like to echo Vice Mayor Sophia's comments about The Battle Creek Fire Department, especially their emergency responders, I was at a location where the underhoused tend to hang out, and there was a call to 911, and I'm an RN, and I was just absolutely amazed by the therapeutic use of self displayed by the first responders from the fire department. Phenomenal. Okay. The other thing I'd like to bring to your attention is, as we all well know, there's a large population of Burmese in Battle Creek, and I was deeply distressed when Shwe Mandalay went out of business. And as Commissioner Simmons well knows, Sweepies on West Territorial is absolutely fantastic, so I want to put in a plug for them. Okay. During a conversation I had with the Honorable Mayor, there was discussion that it might be wise for some of the commissioners to try to maneuver around Battle Creek using our current public transportation system. Therefore, I'm also gifting you with trip tickets. And finally, y'all have a heart for the least of these. On Christmas Day, St. Thomas Episcopal Church is having a hot breakfast, and this is a flyer that explains the details, and y'all are invited to come as we serve the least of these. Thank you.
Mary, thank you very much, and happy holidays. Thank you. David?
Well, again, Battle Creek Transit is one of our biggest necessities in Battle Creek, and it seems it's being took very lightly. And I ride the bus for a good many years myself, and I know that to hire people in, the restrictions are really, really hard. And people just gotta go through all they gotta do, get a job, then they go change their mind. And like I said earlier, when a bus driver comes in with this last route, he picks up that new route, and he just holds that bus up, goes out on a second route. He has no idea who's going to be on that bus. How these crime shootings is going on and stuff like that. And these bus drivers got to be worried when they come in to get their next load, go out on their next route, who's going to be on that bus. And that bus drivers just don't know. And like I said, they don't know how many people is going to be on that route. And this is one of our top necessities, and I think it's being took lightly. And another thing I'd like to wish all you commissioners and the city of Battle Creek a very Merry Christmas and very successful New Year. God bless all everybody and commissioners in Battle Creek.
David, thank you very much. Any other public comment at this time? Kathy Antea.
Good evening again. Thank you for recognizing me. Kathy Antea, Park Ridge Drive. One of Battle Creek's greatest assets, the Share Center, is hosting their annual holiday party this Friday night. The fabulous Bobby Holly gifts us with his music, and if you've ever seen him, you know that man leaves nothing behind when he's done with the performance. He's bringing his band along. We're going to be giving out gifts, food, et cetera, et cetera. The Share Center serves the unhoused and the marginalized people in our community. Unfortunately, this year, we've come up a bit short on gifts. So we give out gifts to every grown-up that shows up, and we also try and super gift the kids that do show up for our party as well. And we're coming up a bit short this year, folks. So I am appealing to everyone. If you would like to, the party is this Friday night. So if you'd like to drop off brand new unwrapped gifts, we will accept any and all. Think about what person that doesn't have a house might want. Like a microwave is probably not going to be a great gift. Just saying, haha. And if you prefer to wrap the gifts, please just put on there the gender of the person and a general age range. Girl, boy, teenagers, young child, adult man, woman, etc. Because a lot of people want to wrap their gifts. So in either case, if you could bring any gifts to help us make the holiday party great for everyone this Friday, Share Center would very much appreciate it. Thank you. Happy Solstice.
Kathy, what time is that party?
Thank you. The party is from 5 to 7 on Friday night at the Share Center, and the Share Center is located at 120 Grove Street. And this is our annual event, and we try and make it super for our customers because, as you can imagine, it must really be horrible to not have a home at this time of year. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy. Any other public comment at this time? Let's turn to commission comment then. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. So I will begin this by saying that I did not memorize this, but
Pretty close.
my annual Christmas message. 'Twas just before Christmas, and all through the city, the lights were a twinkle. It looked really pretty. People out and about they did go, meeting and greeting and saying hello. And as we paused to reflect on 2023 in retrospect, getting around town was quite a mission, with so many bridges out of commission. Now driving on the road is fun, with all the work on Capitol and Helmer done. There have been some changes at City Hall. You can see the new facade and retaining wall. The list is long. I'll try to be brief. We have a new DEI officer, police, and fire chief. There are projects aplenty, both old and new. In consideration of time, I'll name just a few. Horrocks moved to a bigger location, and New Holland Brewing has finally joined Battle Creek Nation. Hopes for the economy with the neighbors scored by luring Blue Oval and working with Ford. Transportation of the future, your views are sought. MDOT wants to know, what are your thoughts? As we turn the calendar to 2024, I'm eager to see what it has in store. It is our city where we live, work, and play. We're making improvements so people will stay. This message is heartfelt, simple, and clear. Wishing you all happy holidays and a prosperous new year.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. Commissioner Ballard?
Mayor, I just wanted to know on the decorations back here, whose mom are we celebrating back here?
I like this.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm glad we got to have some discussion on our transportation this evening, so thank you for allowing us to open that up a little bit. And I'd like to thank the firefighters for coming out this evening and supporting your chief out here with his first ever presentation. And it went quite well. And just, you're all the Serial Cities heroes, just to say that. So thank you very much with that. And Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, and definitely winter solstice is coming up, so celebrate that too. Thank you very much, Battle Creek. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Commissioner. On this side, any comments?
All right.
Commissioner Reynolds?
Thank you, Mayor. Just Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, have a safe and happy holiday to our community, the city of Battle Creek.
Thank you, Commissioner. And with that, we'll have a adjournment for our meeting, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you.